Right, so part 3, and we're getting into the Raspberry now. So let's go and have a look. I'm going to use VNC for the purpose of this, which has already been set up, but I'll show you how that was set up. So if we go to VNC, now of course, before you leave the Raspberry Pi, you need to know its IP address, so if-config, as you would do normally, and look at the Ethernet 0 setting, and it's 242 in my case. Notice the :0 at the end. This is the default behavior when you install VNC on the Raspberry Pi. So that equates to port 5900. If there's any firewall issues anywhere around the world, then obviously you'll need to make sure that's open. It will be, that's fine. Now, I've hit connect, and the first thing you come up with is a username and password. Now, this is the Raspberry Pi. So therefore its username is Pi and its password is Raspberry. So that gets us into the main screen. So that's just popped up there. And we can see this is what I was doing previously. So I was having a checkout, and this is the first thing that I ran here. And as a result of this, we got this output, which was telling us that VNC had been correctly configured. So let's repeat the command. So raspi-config, and we can see there's a number of things in here we can do. I was actually looking in the interfacing options. So if I have a look in the interfacing options, what we can see here is we can set up secure shell, we can set up VNC. It was VNC is what I did. So I went into VNC and simply typed yes, and we can see the server is enabled. If we come out, so I'm using the right arrow just to go down to finish, press finish, we can see then that you should get this output. So you'll only get that the first time you do it, of course, first time it's created. Right, okay, so let's just clear that screen, and afresh we'll do an if-config. Now remember, I plugged in two USB to Ethernet adapters, and there they are. Okay, we'll come back to those later. The main one that we're interested in, of course, is our Ethernet 0. And Ethernet 0 on my network has picked up automatically from DHCP.242. There may well be, and indeed we'll come back to this, some network settings that need doing. So if we look at the etc/network/interfaces, we can see at the moment in time there's not a lot that's happened in here. Okay, so I haven't changed anything. This is just the default settings. So everything pretty much is going to take its input from well, here actually. Okay, so we can have a look in there. Right, okay, so everything's default. Right, good. Okay, so let's get on with the configuration of this beastie. So the first thing, of course, that anybody should do, making sure, is an apt-get update. So that doesn't take very long as it goes on the background. Now, another thing that we need to have a look at, and we can see this out on the internet, and we went and got the Raspberry Pi. If we go across to the next tab along, you see I've gone to Open vSwitch, in particular openvswitch.org. Going to the download link here, you can see there's several releases. I'm going to stick with this one down here at 270 because I've got that working on my other stuff. That's where we're doing it. So you'll see here's what we need to do. So this is the type of file that we'll be extracting, and then it'll be the version number 254 here. I'm going to change that to 270. You can go for a later release if you prefer. That's a personal choice. I'm not going to stop you. Okay, so that's the sort of thing we're going to do. So back to the beastie in question, and we're going to use good old wget, and we're going to wget to that particular, as it did in the link that we saw on the web page. So it's openvswitch.org, and then into the releases and into Open vSwitch. And by the magic of typing, I might have actually typed that correctly, which would be a miracle. And they do happen from time to time. So we're into the Open vSwitch. Now, of course, what we need to do is identify the particular image that we were interested in. So that's the Open vSwitch, and then it's -2.7.0 in my case .tar.gz. And let's just hope that I typed that correctly. Probably didn't, so let's check that out again. My bad. Too many open vSwitches. Get rid of this. It's not in a directory. It's in the releases. So fine, that should work. Oh, happy days. As I say, very quick, near bother at all. So let's have a look. There it is. There's our tar file. So of course we want to unzip it. So we'll use the good old classic xvf. Might even be a Z in there some days. And then just use tab to complete. So that undoes very, very quickly. So cd into that particular directory now. And we are there. So let's do a sudo su to elevate as, so that helps with the next step. Now I'm going to put this into the instructions down below. In fact, I'm going to move the screen, make it a bit wider, make it a bit bigger, and then we can go and get this. So I'm going to copy this in. You saw the finger trouble I had before, and paste this in. So this is getting a whole load of applications in the background that we need. Okay, so you can see it's a sudo apt-get install, and away we go. I should have done a -y, of course, and it will stop us being asked, but it just pauses things for us, which is useful. So we can see then that there's a variety of tools that we're installing. Simplejson, python-qt, a bit of libssl-dev, python-twisted-conch, automake, autoconf, GCC, uml-utilities, libtool, build essential, and pkg-config. So those are all the bits that we are doing. So we'll do a big fat yes to that, and we'll let that build in the background, and we'll come back to that when it's finished.